what actually is the best balloon spot in Mario Odyssey? Well, with some crazy out of bounds glitches to completely unreal pathing, it was going to be a really tough question to answer. So to figure it out, I'd be ranking every single kingdom's best balloon in a tier list. F tier meaning an average player could pop them, and S tier meaning you probably don't even stand a chance. You're gonna want to stick around to the end of the video because some of these balloons are completely absurd. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with Cap Kingdom. Cap Kingdom is the first kingdom you're introduced to in the game, and at first glance there doesn't seem like a lot of room for creativity. It's a very open kingdom with a few hills, some small crevices, and a small amount of buildings. In terms of normal hiding spots, people typically just go as far as possible as quickly as possible. But we aren't hiding normal balloons. Just like I said in the beginning, we're trying to find the best balloon spot in the game, so glitches are completely fair game. And after some research, I found 2 spots that were just about the same difficulty, securing Cap Kingdom's rank on the tier list. Both of these spots utilized instant roll cancels to clip through the walls. The reason that it works is that roll cancels let Mario accelerate really fast, really quickly. All you really need is a ZL to ground pound, X press to roll, and a Y press to a B press right after each other, and Mario accelerates so quickly that the game freaks out, calculates his position with the added acceleration, and plops him to where he should be, essentially teleporting him just a small bit in between frames. And if you do this against a vulnerable corner, vulnerable here meaning that the walls cross to leave this kind of gap in the collision, Mario can use roll cancelling to get past this small amount of collision detection and just completely go through the wall. And like I was saying before, Cap Kingdom does have this kind of vulnerable corner, in 2 places actually, both on door frames in different locations. All you have to do is line them up, perform the roll cancel properly, and Mario will go completely through the wall, letting you hide the balloon out of bounds. It's definitely a good balloon, but this roll cancel clip is pretty well known and isn't very difficult after some practice. Especially when compared to other balloons in this video, it's cool, but Cap Kingdom only really deserves a C tier difficulty. Cascade Kingdom on the other hand has a whole other story. I'd be beating around the bush if I gave you a small history on Cascade Kingdom's glitchless balloons, because Cascade Kingdom already had glitch balloons right off the bat. Before Balloon World, out of bounds areas were already well explored and documented for the minimum captors community, as they figured out a way to get to this 2D pipe without having to break the rocks with the chain chomp. The path involved a lot of crazy looking jumps onto platforms that don't even look possible to jump on, physically and visually. And so, the same platforming was recycled to make an insane looking balloon. This is what it looked like. First, we roll off to get to this bridge and perform the easiest out of bounds glitch of all time. Literally all you have to do is long jump into this corner, you wait for Mario to twitch against the wall, and then once you see that, you start cap bouncing and just land in the water. And then we actually get to the hard stuff. You have to jump over this painting room, get onto this invisible platform, onto here, and then jump up to get onto this platform just behind the chain chomps, and then you blindly jump into the void trying to get onto the small platform behind these rocks. From here you have to jump very precisely to get yourself inbounds and out of bounds at the same time, and then again go into the void to go onto this pole that doesn't even look visible until you actually get onto it. I think it goes without saying that Cascade Kingdom is well deserving of an S tier. This balloon is what started the entire video, and the fact that it barely had any documentation online only made it that much harder to figure out how to get here. I think a lot of other people would agree with me on this being an insane balloon too. I mean, just look at Glitchtastick's reaction getting to this balloon.
We got it! We got it! Oh my gosh! Holy, I'm taking a picture of this.
But is it the best balloon in the game? Well, we still have a lot of kingdoms to go, so we'll have to see. So let's go ahead and move on to Sand Kingdom. Now, hear me out, Sand Kingdom has a bit more potential than you might think it does. It's a super open kingdom with a few hills here and there, and a minimal amount of buildings to play around with. Most people would think that there's only so many places you can hide these balloons in. But that thinking is arguably what makes one of the best balloons in Sand Kingdom, because the path to get to a balloon can be way different than you expect. Cue this balloon. It's 57 meters away and tells you to go down. So the balloon is just under the quicksand. That's easy enough. After all, there's tons of balloons that use this spot too. But there's a key difference between average balloons being hidden here and this one. Time. On average, you get maybe 10 to 12 seconds for a normal balloon like this, so 5 seconds is a completely unreasonable amount of time. And so, what do you do in 5 seconds? Well... And the only reason we can do this is because of Glide On. If we didn't have Glide On, there would be some other ways we can clip out of bounds, but none of them would be helpful here. It almost looks like he's just straight up walking through the wall, so just give me a second to explain this. From my understanding, when you land with Glidon after being in the air, the angle he lands at won't just snap to whatever ground he's on. Instead, Glidon stores the angle he was at before he was in the air, and uses that angle instantaneously when he lands for just a small amount of time. So if you do this on a slant, Glidon will instantly be slanted after he jumps since that was the angle he had whenever he jumped. And so for our Sand Kingdom balloon, we use this 2D pipe here as our slant, and whenever we land, Glidon will instantly go to the last position he was at whenever he jumped and just phase through the wall. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, it's a cleverly made balloon, and I've personally farmed thousands of coins by hiding my balloons here. But is it better than Cascade? Let's just be honest here, no. I'll give it a good B tier though, a little more intricate than the Cap Kingdom balloon, but it's still a pretty easy glitch to pull off at the end of the day. Wooded Kingdom is a really intricate kingdom with tons of really good glitchless spots. If you're trying to play genuine Balloon World, this is everything you could ask for. Tons of tall buildings, cliffsides, and crevices that I still don't even know about even after 100%ing the game. Not a lot of people can whittle their way into Wooded Kingdom and pop these balloons on their first try, but technically it is possible. So of course, we'll use glitches to guarantee that they can't get it the first try. And weirdly, Sand Kingdom and Wooded actually have something in common, that being that they both have Glidon and 2D pipes. Glidon goes out of bounds a little bit differently than in Sand Kingdom though, because the truth is, Glidon is actually too tall to get slanted on this 2D pipe. So instead, we squeeze Glidon in between the wall and the pipe, jump, and glide right before he lands to push his legs out of bounds. And once you're out of bounds, there's a lot of places to hide balloons. If you want to keep it simple, you could just jump around this corner and hide the balloon here, keeping it just barely out of reach so that you can farm coins. But the best balloon I found by far is from a very small YouTuber, and the video has a very small number of views, so I can confidently say that most people haven't seen this balloon. This balloon was hidden by Matan, and they managed to weave their way through a crazy looking balloon, going above this tunnel, onto a small platform out of bounds, and gliding to barely keep enough height to make this jump but not clip inbound. You can hide a balloon under this beanstalk. I'm a little bit biased because it took me an hour to get this balloon, but I'm gonna put it on S tier. But it'll stay on the lower end of the S tiers, and you'll see why later. If you've ever played Balloon World in Lake Kingdom, you're probably familiar with this platform right here. This platform was intended by the developers to only be accessed by a painting in Metro Kingdom, and is supposed to give you a moon. But over time, people figured out that you could make the jump from the boss platform to the painting platform. By using this scarecrow, all you have to do is get to the top of the platform, wait for Cappy to return, and just make a long jump and book it all the way over there. But it was found that you don't even need the scarecrow. You can actually just make a tight jump without it using a triple jump. Mario Odyssey's community continues to break the game more and more, and what's funny is that Lake Kingdom is far more broken than you think. Not only did the developers not intend you to hide balloons here, but they certainly wouldn't have intended you to hide balloons here. No joke, Lake Kingdom is pretty broken. And the way it's broken is with the Cheep Cheep. All you have to do is line up Cheep Cheep's lips with a small lip of a tunnel and uncapture. And if you do it right, Mario will just be out of bounds. And another fun fact, Luigi lets you hide balloons anywhere there's water, and for whatever reason there's water surrounding the entirety of the outside of Lake Kingdom. So you can hide a balloon just about anywhere. So by swimming as fast as you can barely make it to the corner of the map and place a balloon there. 100% a funny balloon, but I could only imagine that if a sane person was looking at the balloons and then saw a balloon that was like 500 meters away through the wall, they wouldn't want to go for it. So if you actually want coins, I'd recommend jumping up to this platform behind the crates to hide your balloon. But again, it's a fairly easy glitch, so Lake Kingdom will be a C tier balloon just like Cap Kingdom. And now time for some lightning rounds, because the next few kingdoms have already mentioned glitch methods. Lost Kingdom's best balloon was hidden by Sea Toad 7, and they use a glide-on to get it out of bounds. Using these accordion-looking stairs as their slant, they clipped through this wall, went down, and glided through this small gap in between the lava to get under this pole. In my opinion, this is a little easier than the Wooded Kingdom balloon. It's definitely arguable though, but again, me personally, I'm putting it in A tier. And then the developers actually did a pretty good job of preventing glitched balloons in Metro. Two of the easiest out of bounds glitches exist in Metro, both only requiring a roll in specific locations to go out of bounds. But if you try to do this in Balloon World, they actually send you right back to the beginning. Awesome. Unfortunately, they didn't take into account for roll cancels, because you can still roll cancel through any of the double doors in Metro. Again, in my opinion, roll cancels aren't very difficult, and so I'm gonna keep it as C tier. And lastly, Seaside's best balloons also involve roll cancels, which are normally done just on this corner of the map. The only thing that makes a difference here is that by the time you get to the spot to actually roll cancel, you barely have any time to hide the balloon. But this can be helped by the loads of coins that you could find on this side of Seaside. Once you use these, you can manage to get to the corner and roll cancel with about 15 seconds left. This sounds like a lot, but it's only really enough time to actually do the glitch and then swim as far as you can, as fast as you can. But with the added addition of coins, this can be more difficult than normal roll cancel balloons, so this will be a B tier balloon. But then we get into Snow Kingdom, and this ends up being a whole mess for one reason only. Snow Kingdom is another one of those cases where it doesn't look like it's fit for creativity. And it really isn't. If you're actually playing Balloon World, the best hiding spots you're gonna get are these small crevices inside of the wall surrounding the entirety of the kingdom. And so, what do you do when you run out of hiding spots on the ground? Well, we start hiding balloons on the walls. I don't even know how this revelation came to be, but if you search for the best balloons in Snow Kingdom, almost all of them feature people hiding balloons on the walls. And it takes some crazy platforming that involves people vaulting off the walls to get insane height. It never gets too crazy though, since Mario slides down the wall once you try and go against it. But there is a small way around this, kind of. You see, Mario is the only one who gets in the slip animation whenever he goes against steep walls, so if we weren't Mario, then we wouldn't have to worry about him slipping. And lucky for us, there's this teeny little feature that Mario Odyssey introduced called capturing that lets you not be Mario. And for our case, we use the Cheep Cheeps. Cheep Cheeps, like I said, don't have the slipping animation, so they can constantly just jump on the wall. Well, until they die. Yeah, Cheep Cheeps despawn after being out of the water for so long, so you're on a very small time limit to get high. But this video by Programmer9 shows him going completely over the wall, despite the fact that he has such a small time limit. I'm not gonna lie, I was kinda skeptical at first, but surely enough, if you use this bit of water to reset the Cheep Cheep death timer, and specifically go against this wall, you'll eventually get it. It personally took me about 30 minutes, so you do have to get a little bit lucky. That combined with the fact that if you actually want to hide it up there, you have to follow a specific coin path, there's virtually no chance that somebody would actually be able to pop this balloon on their first try. It's a pretty crazy looking balloon, and without knowing the glitch, there's no shot people would know how to deal with this. So I'm leaving this as an S tier, probably just under Cascade though, because of the difference in platforming. I know at the moment it looks like Cascade's gonna win it all, but I promise you, there's at least one more balloon that's up there in difficulty. That balloon being in Luncheon. Luncheon balloons have been notoriously known to be hidden on the side of this volcano. But unlike Snow Kingdom, where a good cap throw and a cappy home would discredit most people's hard work, Luncheon Kingdom's volcano has small platforms that are almost like checkpoints, and if you miss the jump to any of them, you have to start all over. There have been tons of good balloons hidden on the side of this volcano, but the best balloon I've seen is hidden by Lauren, and what they do is just phenomenal. Let's break it down. For starters, the beginning of this route takes advantage of the loads of coins available in Luncheon to get as much time as possible to hide this balloon. Once they collect all those, they very precisely line up a jump here to give enough height for Cappy to rest at this ledge and Mario to dive over him. So not only are you aligning Mario for the jump, you align Cappy perfectly against this wall so that Mario can bounce off of him afterwards in such a small amount of time. Any other way would just have Mario sliding down into the lava, so this has to be perfect. And after landing on this platform to dive over the volcano and collecting a few coins, the motion controls go crazy. You have to motion control Cappy up, and then motion control again to home Cappy since a traditional up throw isn't enough height to get to the capture we're trying to reach. And once you capture the fork, another motion control shake to flick high up, motion control to down throw, and then vault off of Cappy. Again, emphasis on motion control flicks, because doing a normal flick would just take way too long. And even more emphasis on the spacing once you flick as well, because if you don't drift far enough away from this ledge, you could easily wind up without a Cappy bounce. If you didn't know, Mario always flips whenever you do a good vault, meaning that you can bounce off of Cappy again. But if Cappy goes a little bit too far away from the ledge, and Mario does his signature "let's go" pose, that's actually a bad thing here, and you can't Cappy bounce again. And then from there, some precise wall jumps and a well-timed jump after slipping off this ledge gets you to this small platform where the balloon is hidden. After coins, this balloon still takes around 50 seconds to hide, and everything in combination makes this the very justified, and if you allow me, the most justified S tier in this list so far. Bowser's Kingdom is a huge kingdom that's separated into islands connected by wires. When you're actually playing Balloon World, hiding balloons sounds like it'd be super easy since it looks like a pretty complicated kingdom. But Bowser's Kingdom doesn't really have as many small crevices as you might expect. So you usually end up getting the same spots hidden away by going as far away as possible, as fast as possible. It's a little unfortunate because, as far as I was looking, there wasn't much documentation for Bowser's Kingdom out of bounds glitches. The one that you come across most often is the out of bounds glitch that was found for the minimum capture speedrunning community, which requires you to get in between these stairs of these ogres and wait for them to raise them so that you can get put out of bounds. Once you do that, you're able to make some precise jumps to get to these rings, which you think would be a good spot. But if you try and do this in Balloon World, you actually get sent back to the beginning, just like you do in Metro, which is super surprising. At first, I really thought this would be the first F tier, since I couldn't find a way to go out of bounds or do anything cool for another balloon. But then I found it. Another balloon hidden by Toad7. What they did is loop around this corner to get to this Pokio, and then headed towards this wall. From here, there's a very tight clip that you can use to get Mario out of bounds by motion control jumping with the Pokio, uncapturing the Pokio, hanging onto the wall, and if everything is in place, Mario will jump onto the Pokeo and go out of bounds. It took me about 20 minutes to recreate myself, and honestly, it didn't feel too complicated to get. And once Sea-Toad was out of bounds, they just made a jump across this corner and under the stairs to hide their balloon. It's a pretty good balloon, one that would stop a lot of people since there's not much documentation on this clip. So this is definitely an A-tier balloon. And then there was Moon Kingdom. Poor Moon Kingdom. One thing you'll notice when you play Moon Kingdom Balloon World is that it's strangely pure. The more and more you play Balloon World, the more you'll find that you don't come across any balloons that are out of bounds. There's a weird lack of glitch balloons. In fact, there actually isn't any glitch balloons in Moon Kingdom. I looked all over for the most difficult balloons in all of Mario Odyssey for every single kingdom. There's no roll cancel clips, no walls left without collision, and no captures that you could get out of bounds. Except for this frog. If you just take the frog from behind the castle in Moon Kingdom, bring it to the front of the castle, and jump on the ledge of this roof, you'll eventually find yourself out of bounds. So let's hide a balloon here, right? Well, by the time you actually get to the frog capture in Balloon World, you're basically left with no time at all to set up this glitch, so this is completely out of the question, leaving us with absolutely no way to get out of bounds. The best spot in Moon Kingdom that I could find is one that people have been using since the beginning of the game, and that's simply making a few not very precise jumps along the front of the castle to get yourself to the top of it before the clock hits 0. It's not at all difficult really, so funny enough, Moon Kingdom will actually be the only F tier on this list. Because afterwards, there's Mushroom Kingdom, and there's actually a lot of cool stuff in Mushroom Kingdom. When you're playing regular Balloon World, you typically end up finding balloons less than 100 meters away just on top of the castle, turning this kingdom's entire balloon world into a glorified little kid's rock wall. These balloons aren't hard to pop at all. The only thing that's slightly easy to mess up is the jump from one windowsill to the next, but most balloons even give you the time to just try again. So of course we have to get into a little more nitty gritty if we want actual good balloon spots. And this can be done with the scooter. You might have seen the scooter glitch where if you get a scooter, put it on a slant, and then jump and accelerate at the same time, you'll manage to get some crazy height. But what people don't realize is that this weird behavior also sometimes puts Mario underground. We can recreate this in Mushroom Kingdom, where we get this slant from the castle's front entrance bridge rails. All you have to do is jump and slant the scooter, jump twice afterwards, and Mario will just be out of bounds. The only thing that makes this a little frustrating is the fact that getting this glitch sometimes feels like RNG. But besides that, most people could do it, so I'm gonna say this is a C tier balloon. And so, this ends up being the final tier list. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. I'm gonna keep making awesome videos like this, but I'm the only one getting footage, editing, doing research, and voicing over, so just be a little bit patient for my next upload. All the balloons that I gave credit to will also be down in the description. Everyone that I featured is super awesome and you should totally go check them out. And if you think this video is cool, maybe check out these videos as well. But anyways, have a good one.